Hi, folks. This is Will. We're back again here. I'm just continuing the previous screencast. Anyway, we were at Bob McIntosh's Culinary Arts 2, and we have the SPUR assessments here. And presumably grading now is complete or near complete. And the view that you want to use in order to check data, look for errors and omissions would be this one. Now, what we're viewing here is by units. So we're seeing all of the SPUR assessments in this grid. And I do this with everybody, but you should do this yourself prior to considering your job complete. Anyway, I can see all students, all SPUR grades, and my eyeball points out a couple of things. He's going to punch me probably for pointing these things out, but that's an improper number, 1.1. It's either 1.0 or 1.5. There are some zeros here that may be issues of which the students are making up work, or I don't really know. And then there are a couple of students that have no grades at all. So I would need a status on those. Anyway, so this is a good screen for just reviewing all of your work for that particular class. Let's continue on then and look at the various assessments and the mastery by each student. We'll go to the Courses tab, and we'll select the same class, and we'll look at the Mastery tab. This Mastery tab has, of course, all the students are listed, and I'm going to reduce the size of this screen. You'll see why in a second. And this is their score, their aggregate score, a calculation of all of the assessments. And if you wish to see the actual 1 to 100 number, click here, show or hide columns. And we're going to show the top column, show conversion number. And there you see it. For some odd reason, Jump Rope decided to include this decimal point, but I don't think it matters. I'm dealing with them on that. But these are the aggregate grades that you can view. Now, if we see this little caret over here, we can click that. And for Elizabeth Boyd, the first drop down is a breakdown of hard skills and professional skills. Then, of course, we can drop each one of those down, and we see what grades have been produced for the hard skills and the professional skills. We also see over here the 1 to 100. Anyway, that's going to get very tedious. So hopefully most of you understand that down here, expand, we click there and we can expand to any level we wish. Let's go back to the student expansion and you'll see what it does. All right, what we really want to do is look at assessments. All right, so this, I expanded it out to assessments. It takes a moment. And as you recall, I did it for the entire class. So we're still looking at Elizabeth Boyd, and we're expanded all the way out to the assessment level. Now, how I would typically do this if I were looking for Elizabeth Boyd would, up in this box here, type Boyd, and you see she pops up. And let's make sure we're dealing with the proper grading term, which we are, Q1. We can click Load Report if we had changed that to Q2 or Q3 later. Let's expand out to assessment. And now we're dealing with Elizabeth Boyd. Now, the first thing I'm going to look at here is to make sure the weights are properly set. Now, let's just go down the list here and we see breakfast foods. The weight, 0.05 for the non-SPUR assessment, 10 for the SPUR assessment. So what that does is it translates to a 0.35. The ultimate grade is 0.35. Those two coincidentally were the same, but they won't always be. Down here under the next hard skill, weights look good. Safety and theory, now that's one of the assessed competencies. However, you see there was no SPUR assessment done, so that basically will not factor into the grade. Even though the grade shows up here, since the weight is so low, that will not factor into the final grade. Sanitation Theory 2, there is a SPUR assessment set at 10. The rest are set at 0.05 with one exception. There's no apparent weight set for that final test. Now, if you don't see a weight there, the system defaults to 1. I'm not absolutely certain I know why jump rope did that, but when you see no weight there, assume that it's 1. Now, I'm not certain whether Mac wanted 1 to be there. 1 typically is not a proper weight to set. If it's a non-SPUR assessment, it should be set between 0.01 and 0.1. If it's a SPUR assessment, it should be set at 10. So he might have an issue to change that weight. Might have to go back and do that. All right, then we have the professional skills, and these were all assessed at the SPUR assessment, or at the SPUR conference. So there we have it for the review. I would highly advise you going through and reviewing both of these as I've discussed here. Both look at the grid so that you see the grades, and look at this view so that you can see what the weights are set, how the weights are set. A couple of other common errors that I've found is, we'll go to the plan tab and I'll show you. It has to do with dates. We'll just select that same unit, SPUR. If SPUR doesn't show up for some reason, it's probably an improper date. The date has to be set properly. Within the SPUR assessments have to be, as with any other assessments, must be within the date range of that particular marking period. Lastly, not always is there alignment to a competency. When we click there, we see that there's a one-to-one alignment. For the SPUR assessments, there should be a one-to-one alignment. All these should be 1. So it's aligned to one and only one competency or professional skill. If it's a non-SPUR assessment, it can be aligned to more than 1. All right, that's it for now. Happy spurring. Talk next time.